Hey everyone, I'm Ben from DRT Parts. Today we're going to be installing the reproduction lower dash for the 98 to 02 Ram pickups, 15, 25, 3500, all the same. We're also going to install an LMC top dash. This truck is a manual. It'll be a very similar install, not an automatic, other than like the shifter parts and stuff like that. Let's go ahead and get started. First things first, it's a good idea to disconnect both batteries. If you have a diesel, one battery obviously if you have gas. Just in case you make the airbags go off or something, you don't really want to do that. And unhook the other battery. Now obviously the dash in this thing has seen better days. I believe the lower dash is actually somewhat intact. So that being said, I'm gonna try to keep it good and not break it, because it is still something that we can sell even though we have new ones. Somebody may want to buy a used one just to save a little. So I'll go a little slow on some of the screws, but otherwise if it's broke, then it's have at it. You can't hurt it any worse. I'm gonna start by removing the bezel first. Normally you have to be pretty careful, but again, if it's broken, you can just break it off. And we're cracked right here. We do have a broken lower dash, and hence why we are making one. Okay, personally, I like to remove as much pieces like the heater control, the radio, the cluster. The more you remove in the truck, the lighter the dash assembly is. You can do all that stuff on the bench if you have help to move this thing around and stuff. For this video, I'm gonna go ahead and start removing radio, climate control, gauge cluster. You want to disconnect all the connectors. The vacuum tube assembly is two 10mm nuts. They are really easy to lose, so be careful, they're special. Just like that. Guy just unplugs. There's that. Now I'll go ahead and remove the radio. This truck already has an aftermarket singled-in radio. Our new dash will accept factory original, a singled-in aftermarket obviously, or a doubled-in. Okay, next, I'm going to remove the headlight switch. This thing is just shattering in front of us. All these clips just falling out. Now you have to depress the little red clips, get them to slide. Next, I'm gonna take this kick panel off. 3 screws. Knee panel, kick panel. Next, I'm gonna remove the hood release and the metal bracket under here that goes kind of from here to here to allow the steering column to drop down. Go ahead and pop this airbag harness plug out of here carefully. Need to go find my clip tool. All right, next is the steering column. This truck, unfortunately, the column cover is already broken off, but you've got 3, I believe, T20 screws that go straight up. 1, 2, 3. And then once you get that cover off, you remove the tilt column lever, if it actually has tilt. It just unscrews. And then once that's out of there, that just lifts off. Goes out of the way. Now to finish the column, what's gonna happen, move the camera here. You've got one more inner cover with a T20. Then you're gonna unplug the ignition switch, the clock spring, and basically pull this whole harness off of the column. It's got this little cover that pops open or pops off, whatever. But we're gonna basically lay the harness to the side, and then we're going to loosen 3 nuts up on the firewall for the column. We're gonna take those nuts off. Remove the brake light switch that just twists out of the bracket. Half turn, quarter turn, whatever. Okay, now that the column harness, brake light switch, again, pull these 3 nuts, and then there's 2 nuts here. And then last but not least, there's a small cable that goes from the column up to the gauge cluster on an automatic. It's for your gear selector. Manual doesn't have that, so you're gonna have to pay special attention to this area right above the column, between the cluster and the column. You've got to disconnect that cable. It's a little bit fragile. I can't show you that this time on this manual truck. I'm gonna go ahead and do all that stuff, and I'll do like a faster video, and then we'll get back to the rest of the things. I just wanted to make a detail video. There's actually 2 screws on this lower cover, not 1, but 2. Then once that's out of the way, this ignition switch actually has an 8mm screw in the back. You can probably get it by hand like I did. Once you pull that screw out, it unplugs. Gotta help it a little bit at a time. Okay, so there's that. Then this guy unplugs here, one little button. You actually have to pull on that one. This one has tabs on the sides. Now this one is the yellow guy down here. I'm not sure if you can see that. Yeah, this guy stays with the column. So you're gonna stay with the column. Then next, I'm gonna unbolt the steering column itself. Three 15mm nuts. Okay. And now you've got the two 10s up into the dash frame itself. Get a hold on to it. And just kind of let it rest on the seat there. And you can remove it all the way. It helps get the dash in and out. That's about it. It requires removing the steering shaft under the hood. It's a little harder to get to. Automatics have some shifter linkage that makes this a little stiffer, but it should drop down just like this. Missed one plug. I got one little plug here. Okay, steering column's disconnected. Now I'll go ahead and remove the 4 screws that hold the cluster into the dash. The cluster actually just pulls right out. Sometimes it can be a little tricky. The connectors stay in the dash. It's got like fancy automatic little sockets. Set that aside. Okay, now for this area, what you've got going on in here is, sorry, gotta get some wires out of the way. You've got one 10mm bolt here. Remove that bolt. This whole plug will kind of travel as the bolt's coming out. You want to actually pull on the plug a little bit. And then there's another connector below it that just unplugs. Then you've got the parking brake release. Actually has a little plastic clip on either end. Kind of doesn't matter which one, whatever you can get to. Go ahead and get that disconnected. And then on these 2nd gen trucks, the last thing on this side that's kind of a pain is up in the back of this fuse block. There's a few plugs, I don't remember, we're gonna find out, probably 2 to 3 plugs that are actually part of the harness that stays in the truck. So this fuse block is actually gonna come out with the dash. Those plugs have to be disconnected and left in there. It's gonna be hard for me to picture. Maybe as I drop the dash back, rock it away from the firewall, I'll be able to show you. But I'll go ahead and take all the bolts and stuff out that I can right now. Let you see that. Try to film it at the same time. Okay, that guy's out. There's the bolt that I was talking about. And then this connector is going to come undone. This one actually has the little bail that you have to flip at the same time. So if you see that, it's got a little push button and then it flips. And then you've got one more here, little push button guy. I'm gonna go ahead and stop filming now for a minute. Here's the plastic clip for the parking brake handle. I'm just gonna get a screwdriver in there and pry down on it. It'll be hard to show the video and do it, so I will get that done. Okay, now the handle's free and the little rod just is gonna stay in there. When you put the dash back in, you have to guide that rod through this hole. Otherwise you will not be able to get it through there once the dash is back in. So just a nice little tip. It gets me almost every time and I know about it. Okay, next we are gonna take these two screws out to allow the kick panel or the sill plate to pop up, and then we can get the kick panel out. You may have to dig dirt out of these screws. Depends on how clean you keep your truck. This truck is literally directly out of my yard at All Dodge. So, sorry, it's kind of dirty. Okay, now that just comes right out, and we're gonna repeat the same thing on the other side. Okay, same thing as the driver's side. Okay. Okay, next we're going to remove the glove box. You just kind of push on the back wall, and that flexes the sides in enough to clear right here. These little hooks have to clear, and then turn it all the way down and lift off the hinges. Okay, now we're going to remove this little thin panel here, a couple screws only. One from the bottom, and then two from the sides there. He's out of the way. And now we can go ahead and start removing the passenger side airbag. It's kind of nice to remove, it's quite heavy. So you've got all these screws here. Remove that bar, makes it a lot easier. And then there's, I believe, 5 10mm bolts. Two from under here. They all look the same. Okay, it should be ready to pull. I'll be honest, they're pretty stubborn sometimes. It seems like the best is to get the top to pop loose first. Okay, now I gotta figure out how to unplug it. I'll show that. Okay, now to disconnect the airbag connector. It's a little bit tricky because it's hard to get to, but there's one claw. I'll show it better once I get it out. So it's got a little claw that you depress right here, and it disconnects. Here's a better picture of the airbag connector. This is the female side, I'll call it, on the airbag itself. And how to disconnect it is you have to push the claw. Okay, this being a manual transmission, I've got to remove these little rubber flappy deals. There's a screw there, screw there. This truck's actually a weirdo. It's a two-wheel drive manual. So this comes out instead of a four-wheel drive shifter boot. Four-wheel drive, you'd have to remove the boot. And then I've got 2 more screws here. Once those are out, I will show you lifting it off and what you got to do underneath. Okay, this truck has an exhaust brake switch mounted to the shifter handle that has to come off. Do that real quick. I need 2 hands, but basically I'm going to take that apart, and then I have to feed it through the boot so I can get this whole console assembly out of here. Okay, I decided this wire is not worth pulling through, so I'm gonna go ahead and leave it, and I'm gonna pull the stick. It's just one 19mm nut, basically. And I'm just gonna leave it all together out of the way. So that can stay in the truck. Okay, next we've got one bolt on each side of this, and I believe these two, maybe not, but those, if I know it gets easier if you have more of this out of here because it wants to get hung up. This is an area that you should be careful. It's best to unplug this first. We do have the battery unhooked, but this is the airbag computer, and I know from experience, because a buddy did it on a Toyota Camry once. He put his impact near the airbag sensor, and the vibration from his gun set every single airbag off in the whole car. Luckily he didn't get hurt. So this connector has another red slidey dude that you want to move over, and then once that's pushed over, see if I can film it at the same time. You gotta push this button down and unplug it. So now at least the airbags really can't go off. We have the passenger one out already, but the driver, and actually the driver's side is disconnected. So again, this is just an area that you should be mindful of. All right, I need to get a deep socket for those guys. Sorry, my camera work is terrible inside the truck. Just trying to show you guys step by step. Okay, so again, remove those two. Okay, and last but not least, it's nice to undo this clip, this little Christmas tree, what I call them. Pull that out of there, and this bracket can come out, and that lets this part of the lower part of the frame clear everything without getting caught. A lot nicer. Now what we have next is 4 or 5, it is 5 8mm bolts across the center, up by the windshield. Okay, same thing on the other side. And then one in the center. Okay, now all that's left as far as bolts go is there's one, I think 15mm on each side, maybe 13, yeah, 13. These really only need to be loosened, and then if you see, the dash has like a built-in slot. Okay, so here's the driver's side one. Kind of have to push the parking brake down a little bit to get it. Leave it partially bolted in still. Here's the passenger side. Okay, now it's about time to get some help. The whole dash is loose now, you can see. Okay, now here is with the dash rolled back, looking into the driver's side fuse block area. Basically these two connectors, and I believe this guy right here, for sure have to be disconnected. And then if your truck, like this one, has any kind of pillar gauges or anything aftermarket, you may have some other wiring that you have to kind of finagle with. In this case, I actually just cut some things because there's no connectors. So you can deal with that later on a case-by-case basis. Okay, here's what those plugs look like. Again, little thumb button that you can feel up in there. You really can't see it because of where it is. One here. Any connector, advice I like to give is usually push the connector in, and that lets the claw kind of release first, and then push the button and then pull it out. Okay, you got a couple more connectors on the passenger side. You've got the HVAC little connectors here. Pretty simple, easy to get to. Hard to do with one hand. Okay, so I got that guy. And then the antenna is kind of tucked up in here, and it's this little taped up mess here. You gotta disconnect that connector. Here's what that looks like. Those just disconnect. One stays behind, one goes with the dash. The only thing left, I believe the AC vacuum hoses, I believe you have to disconnect over by the gas pedal. I'm gonna go see. Okay, it's best to do this one beforehand. I waited till the end, but it's right by the gas pedal. You've got a little claw that you push up on it, and then it just unhooks. And that should be everything. I just gotta get my buddy to help me lift this thing out of here. I don't feel like doing it by myself. Okay, now we're gonna start stripping it down. Just take each part off. Keep the screws with each piece. Okay, there are a few screws to know about. It's hard to show you. On the back side of the dash, try not to drop this thing. On the back side, there's some ducting. Here you go. There's some ducting that have screws up into the upper dash. One's here, one's here, one's here. I'd say there's probably 8 or 10. When the dash is broken, it's not that big of a deal, but going back together, you need to put all those back. Okay, these are the gauge cluster connectors. They've got like a little claw on the back that you pull down on, a little tab. You have to undo those. Little guys. You want to go ahead and push on this center duct and push it through so it's loose. Okay, 99 to 02. With this guy, it won't pull through the hole. Maybe it will, but I just always unplug it. Slide the little red sliders again, unplug those, and then you can pull it through. Okay, now we should be able to lift the whole lower dash off of here, other than maybe one connector right here. screws. Okay. Now the vents, you're going to have to push through. They're a little tough as well. More screws on the vents. Okay, so the easiest way on this thing is to actually completely remove all of the screws for this defrost duct. So I'll try to kind of video some of it. These are all pieces of the broken upper dash, so I'll need 2 hands to take all those pieces out. Got one here. Okay. Should lift out now. It's got one more in here. Back in here it's got one that's really hard to reach. Kind of need a long screwdriver. Okay, got that screw out. Let's see if it'll lift off now. Okay, set that out of the way over here. That's what that looks like. Now, I think all I've got left is maybe 1 or 2 screws in the back. Right here, it's got one that holds this harness to the original lower dash. It's been a little while since I've pulled one of these. I've pulled many, but I've got help now, so I don't always have to do it myself. Lift this piece of junk off. That is a piece of junk. Okay. Now, one thing I didn't do is unplug the cigarette lighter. And the power outlet. Pretty simple. Okay, there's one little wire harness clip here that has to get released. Okay, should be it. Flimsy old piece of junk. One bump, ready to go. Okay, here's the frame all stripped down. I got all the broken plastic bits from the old dash off. I haven't really touched any harnesses or anything. They're exactly where they were as it came apart. So everything should lay right back where it belongs. I actually don't have the cigarette lighters with me today. Basically the old ones pretty much don't come out without mangling them. So we will be supplying what you need to be able to replace those. So I'll leave the cigarette lighters out today. Otherwise all this should go right back together. Okay, now for the fun part. I'm gonna go ahead and install the lower dash, the new one. Don't have to be so careful with this one. I mean, it's possible you could break it, but you'd have to really want to. It does fit a little snug in a couple spots. You want to make sure you aren't pinching any wires, so take your time. Fit it all in where it goes. You can see some screw holes start to line up, so that kind of tells you you're in the right spot. It should pretty much just snap into place. Go ahead and start bolting it all together. I like to kind of start in the center and work my way out. And this thing should fit just like original. This is the first time this part's ever been bolted into a vehicle before. So far, everything seems to be lining up perfect. Got two on the ends here, same thing on the other side. Go back over it. Make sure you don't have any holes that you didn't put a screw in. Keep in mind the metal frame does flex a little bit as well as the dash, so you may have to twist something a little bit to get a screw to line up, but once it lines up, it'll be good. it for the all the frame screws. Now I've got to flip it over and do the ducting and a couple of wire harness screws from the back, basically. Originally, you had to be really gentle at this point because this thing would be so brittle. But this thing, other than not wanting to drag it around and scratch it, it's going to be pretty durable. Go ahead and snap in your gauge cluster connectors. Snap in your little connector clip. Holds just fine. Okay, and now for the ducting, that can be a little tricky. It just gets tight in here, so you gotta be patient. All these ducts basically have big claws that grab into the dash. I will say, especially if it's cold outside, you might want to warm these up. I think they'll clip in a heck of a lot easier if they're warm. We don't have that problem today. It's about as hot as it can get here. It's a tight fit on a couple of these. They're just made that way. the driver's side vent tube first next time. So that's this one right here. If you put it in first, you'll have more room to kind of manipulate it. That sucker fits tight. And then this is the one that's got the screw that's way back in there. The rest are pretty easy. Okay, so one screw back in there, one there, one there. One here for this harness. This harness clips back in to the front wall. Both of these snap in. Those are for the gauge cluster. And again, I say put this tube on first. This screw is a little bit hard to do with a long screwdriver. I would say maybe pre-thread it, run your screw in it, because these screw holes are brand new. They've never had a screw in them before. So do yourself a favor, pre-thread that one. Then you can put this on, then you can build all the rest of this, snap them all in one at a time, put all those screws in. Okay, now I'm gonna roll it back. It's nice to have a pair of little jack stands or something. Roll it back, and then from there we're gonna put the LMC upper dash back on here. Make sure this thing's sturdy here. And actually, before I do that, our kit is going to come with new foams for the vents, and then new felt pieces for all the insulation spots. I'll be honest, I just have a little sample bag today, so I don't quite have as many as the kit will come from. I'm just going to put some of them on. This truck is like a ranch truck for me, so I don't really even care. You can look at your old dash to know exactly where they go and how they go. So far they look pretty self-explanatory on where they go. Just a little tricky to peel. Okay, nice little tip on these foam pads. When you peel them, you want to make sure the sticky stays on the foam. So maybe squeeze on them a little bit, whatever. These have been sitting around for a little while. They're not as fresh as they will be for you guys, so it probably won't be as big of a deal, but yeah, you want to make sure that stuff stays behind. Pretty dang sticky. Once they stick to you, you got problems. It's my first time working with these things, so. I would say it's probably best to stick them first before the vents are in there. I didn't do that, but just me thinking out loud, I think that's the way. Check this one. Are going to go ahead and stick on where all the screw holes are. Okay, so like I said, I don't have enough of these little red guys to actually finish this thing. I think there's about 40 of them and we've got probably half today. But you get the picture. We're actually supplying it with the correct amount of those. Word of advice, the little punch outs, you want to pick those out first before you use them. That way they aren't getting stuck where the screw belongs. Here's how the little pads turned out. They were kind of hard for me to put on with the vents in place, so I would recommend to do them first. That being said, we're about ready to put the dash on, the dash top. There is a few things that you can do now. Plug in different connectors that you can get to. Just make sure nothing's pinched. I'm gonna go ahead and put this airbag sensor in, and like these different things that while the dash top is off is easier just to access the connectors and stuff, but I think overall this is going pretty smooth. There are some small little panel nut clips that today I'm gonna swap over from the other dash. I think we will probably supply those when you buy this new. Okay. Okay, there are 6 of these little metal clips. 3, actually I think 7. 3 for the headlight switch and 4 for the gauge cluster. 1, 2, 3, 4. We are working on supplying these with the dash, but they are proving to be very difficult to find. For now, we may have you guys recycle those out of your dash. We do have used ones, a limited supply, obviously, we can take from broken dashes or whatever. We're working on either making metal clips or plastic clips that can replace them, but for now, worst case, we swap them over from your dash. So I'm gonna do that right now. Okay, so early on, I got a lot of questions about how does this dash work for a 98 or a 99? Well, the answer is pretty simple. We, hold on, let me get these out of here. We overlapped both designs right here. So this is 98 98 has this and does not have these little pegs, and these little round like supports are not there. It's just kind of a little halo. 99 up looks like this and does not have this. We figured out, kind of messing around and drawing it, that it looks like this 99 part will actually fit with that tab in there. If not, it's basically holding it up by the thickness of that screw head right there. So worst case, 99 to 02 guys need to cut this piece off, or at least grind this little flat spot down. And then I still have to check, 98 guys may have to cut these off with like a little die grinder or something. So I will definitely follow up with everyone on that. Now we're going to go ahead and fit the dash top. Should go right on there. Screw it all on. Again, start in the middle, kind of better. All looking pretty good. I am beginning to wonder if this was the wrong color. This is the light gray. I can't remember right now, but it's the one I have today. We're just really checking for fit right now. We'll definitely be addressing color once we have texture on it. The texture totally changes how the plastic looks. But as far as all the screw holes lining up, everybody lined up, we know that we have a couple of issues with some holes. We kind of have them all documented, so we're working on those right now. Okay, next, you got to go through and put all these little screws back in from the back. Basically, check all the vents where they connect to the top panel, and then you've got a couple metal frame to top panel. Kind of hard to video that, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it. This is the parking brake handle holder. This is the parking brake handle. To remove it, you lift these two little tabs here. It's got the little claw there, so you lift those up and then it slides out. So install is the reverse of that. It just slides up in here, just like this. Keys into those little slots, and it just pushes it all the way up, just like that. Okay, we're getting ready to put the dash back in, and I just wanted to give a friendly advice to everyone that while you're here looking at the AC box and the heater core and everything, you should probably remove it and at least replace the heater core, or look at it and make sure it's not corroded or leaking or whatever. Your evaporator is in here. Usually it's just completely full of debris. It could be leaking. They make nice metal doors. I can't remember the name of the company, maybe Heater Treater or some crap like that. Anyways, they make some nice parts for these to restore this piece. Worst case, you have to yard the dash back out to work on this, and at least now you have a dash that can survive that. Originally, obviously, it would crumble. You can go ahead and buy stuff like this online, or at your parts store, and replace the foam. This truck is pretty much straight out of my yard, and I'm using it for like a beater ranch truck thing at my house, so I really don't care. I would like the AC to work, but I'm not going to mess with it today. I think it's just low on charge. So yeah, we'll be doing a time lapse probably to put the dash back together, because it's going to be reverse of disassembly. I will highlight where the different connectors go, because those are kind of a pain and you don't want to forget. So I'll show that before we go into time lapse. Okay, so to recount this, these are going to get plugged in here. You've got an e-brake lever, like rod, that I actually need to get lined up still. The other side, I'll show you. This side, you've got two plugs here, one antenna cord. You've got your AC vacuum connection up in there. Then tip it up. Put the 5 bolts back in across the top, tighten the 2 on the sides, put the bracket back in the center, put the steering column up, and bolt it all back in place. And then from there, it's just reassembly of all the random parts, like the radio, the cluster, the glove box, the airbag. Pretty straightforward. So I'm not going to video that part, other than I probably will leave it on time lapse for the whole thing. Okay, so I had some difficulties going back together. You may have seen, that's why I'm explaining. It's so damn dark in the shop. I had to unplug my overhead light here because my phone was going dead to video. I actually had screwed this thing in upside down just because I'm trying to hurry and I'm dying here. It's about 110 today. But this is with the aftermarket doubled in and the aftermarket bezel. The fit of this aftermarket bezel is pretty much horrible, I'm gonna say. I think if you weren't totally fried like I am today, you could take and work it, maybe grind it open a little more or slide the radio over or something. Sorry, bad camera. But basically this bezel is not bolt on. It's a freaking nightmare. I think a lot of aftermarket stuff like that, it's just is what it is. Tomorrow or the next day I'll see about putting a stock radio in with a factory bezel. I think we have a nice, like an aftermarket LMC bezel or something. So I'll check the proper fit of a real bezel and the original radio. But so far, I think this thing works pretty dang good. So thank you for watching.